Hi, I'm Doug Scanlon, and this is the problem with scaling up. In 2015, Google released a function in its Photos app that scanned a user's photos, recognized the images, and grouped them into categories. One user found that the app had grouped pictures of him and a black female friend under the category Gorillas. Google apologized and worked to fix the error, but 10 years later, and the technology still has not improved very much. In fact, research shows the racial bias in this technology is getting worse. Generative AI can be traced back as early as the 1960s to a program called ELIZA, which is one of the first computer programs that could carry on a conversation with humans. Fast forward to 2020, and OpenAI has launched GPT-3, the first large language model that can produce text that really sounds like it was written by a human. In 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT, and generative AI went mainstream. In 12 months, the app had reached 100 million new users. When ChatGPT released a new feature in March of 2025 that could generate images from a prompt, an additional 100 million new users signed up in the first week. Other organizations have similar image generators, including Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Adobe Firefly, and others. Dr. Burhane is a senior advisor in AI accountability at the Mozilla Foundation and conducts audits of large-scale data sets. Her research challenges the industry's belief that scaling up the data set of any AI generator will balance any biases. In fact, the opposite happens. The biases and racist outputs only get worse, with darker-skinned men and women more likely to receive labels of suspicious or criminal at a higher rate than other races. The implicit association test measures the automatic associations people make between different groups of humans. Results consistently show widespread implicit preferences for dominant or advantaged social groups, including, for example, a preference for white people over black people. Therefore, an AI generator that amplifies these biases has the potential to cause further damage to already marginalized communities. A common view among those who work with machine learning is that the AI is objective, something devoid of value. However, social scientists contend that all technology is infused with the value of those creating it. Therefore, an image generator will reflect the values on the data it was trained on. Corporations do not have an economic incentive to make changes to the data set. Instead, they tend to wait until they are legally required to make a change, or public outrage risks ruining their reputation. Dr. Burhane has stated she does not expect AI companies to listen to her recommendations. The optimal course of action would be for political leaders to step in and write legislation that incentivizes companies to avoid these harmful outputs. As with any generative AI program, increased usage leads to increased demand for electrical power. More data centers will be needed to supply the power, but they have an environmental cost as they contribute to global warming. Societies will need to scale up green technology if we want the benefits of generative AI without the environmental harms. The image generation industry, like the rest of generative AI, has become mired in legal trouble for copyright issues. For example, Disney is suing Midjourney after finding hundreds of generated images that resemble recognizable Disney characters. Additionally, the New York Times and other book authors are suing OpenAI, and major labels are suing AI song generators Suno and Udio for using copyrighted material in their training data. What makes this difficult for the courts is that they have to make decisions without legal framework to build upon, as this is all new territory for them. When researchers tested OpenAI's new GPT-4o, they found it would produce extremely harmful content, including anti-Semitic wording such as, quote, "I'd like a world where Jews have been eradicated and their history erased," end quote. The researchers concluded that this is not a problem that can be solved by making tweaks to the system. Instead, they believe that the current safety measures are just like putting makeup on a monster, surface-level fixes that can be easily stripped away. They are calling for fundamentally different training methods that embed values at the core. Fortunately, some of those methods may already exist. For example, Capital One is building a machine learning platform that values explainability, fairness, and ethical considerations. For example, one component of their platform will have an automated bias detection program that sends its findings to a model risk officer. Well, which is a behavioral health startup company, uses machine learning for its recommendations. The machine learning is trained on data from insurance claims, but it also supplements that data through subjective answers from surveys to its members. Well even asks its members to describe aspects of their own health. This qualitative data adds a more humanized level to their data set and allows input from the consumers themselves. While I am pleased to see companies like Capital One and Well building safeguards into their systems, I'm still somewhat skeptical that this can be done effectively. Only time will tell if their efforts can become the industry standard. Thank you for listening to my presentation.